Coming from the motherland of Australia, appearing Saturday night at Nightvision, right after KB, right before Crowder, is Taya. Welcome.
Oh, you're very kind, Maddie.
And and
Woo.
and your beanie matches your jacket, so you get stylish points because you match.
Hey, you're very kind. This is gonna go deep real quick. I had head surgery the other week, so I have like some bright blue, but I've matched it. Bright blue stitches sticking out. And so I thought, you know what? Instead of the stitches vibe, I'm gonna give a blue beanie.
It looks amazing now because
You're
I've done my
kind.
research, Taya. You have a
Yes,
tour coming up.
I do.
Is the head is
Yes.
the head wound going to be like fine, or are people in select cities going to be able to see the scars still while you're on stage?
Well, listen, I have a habit of headbanging. So
Okay.
there is a chance that they might be able to see a little bit of the scarring. But I will say, this is my second head surgery. And the first time they shaved it a little bit. And so I always said to my husband, if they shave it again, I might have to shave my entire head again. This will be the second time I would have done that. But my husband's very grateful that my hair is intact. And so we will be able to headbang because it will be a bit weird headbanging with a shaved head.
So was the surgery because you were headbanging and then you hit the microphone? Is that what happened?
No, not with
No.
that. I do have a chip in my tooth from a microphone, a couple of microphones. But no, this is okay. We're talking about the motherland. I grew up in Australia. We have a hole in the ozone layer, and so the sun is very, very strong. I
Okay.
actually had a skin cancer,
Oh
and then
wow.
I got it cut out, and then it grew back, and then I've just had it cut out again. And to be honest, with this new record coming out and some of the songs that I'm singing, I feel like the Lord has enabled me to have some legs to some of the confessions that I put on the record before knowing I'd have to walk through this.
And
So,
and the new and I just made a joke. Like here you are, you talking about something serious, and I'm talking about you running into a
hey, no, no,
microphones.
no, no. I'm an Australian. You need to know we love all the humor, and I'm all about
And you,
it.
you mentioned the new album. You got to slide that in, so management and record label will be happy. So for the Night Vision audience, the reminder is coming out in April, and you've already released
Yes,
a couple of singles off of that. And
yes,
talk about that album real quick. The upcoming
yes.
album.
I'm so excited. It's my sophomore album, which just means it's a fancy word for the second. They say you have all the time in the world to write for the first one, but then when the second one comes, you're just kind of scrambling. You're like, oh gosh, where'd the time go? And so I so badly didn't want that to happen. So I started out 2 years ago. And what's crazy is during all of this, the lay of the land looked completely different. We weren't parents yet. We were traveling the world, but again, not bringing a beautiful little human along the road with us and some health battles, and our church context looks completely different. But God's been completely faithful, and this album is called The Reminder. It's the reminder of God's faithfulness. That is his banner over my entire life. Even if I haven't been faithful, even if other people haven't been faithful, or we've, fallen down or not done the thing that we said that we would do, God doesn't change and he remains faithful because he can't deny himself. And so my hope is that when people listen to these songs, that they would be reminded in their own lives of the faithfulness of God, even in the midst of life and its unexpected twists and turns, whether again that's due to our choices and circumstances or other people's choices and circumstances put on us. What's kind is that God doesn't change and he remains faithful. And again, with that title track, The Reminder, it kind of talks about it all. When you're in the valley, remember what you know, that he's never let you go. And I've got history to prove it, that my future is secure. And he's always been good to me because he's always been good to me. And so it's kind of like just a fun track. And I will say this, look out for the guitar solo. I hope it lets every like punk rocker Christian kid just brings you right back to that moment when you first, listening to Reliant K or something else. And I hope it blesses your heart.
Shout out to Reliant K. We miss you guys. Please, please make a new album.
Hey,
Uh,
we're waiting. We're waiting.
we are. I mean, that was my youth right there. Okay, I'm a little bit
Me
older than
too.
you. That was my youth. Your first single was One and Only, and that song is on the Nightvision Festival 2025 playlist. That song is a jam, or
Kind.
as the kids like to call it, a bop. Um, The thing is that now will the I want to get to this in a second. I'm going to break a
Yes.
promise I made to you off air, but are you bringing the family? Will the family be at Night Vision? Will we
Yes.
have a baby in our arms while we're singing?
Yes. Technically not in the arms because
Sure.
he walks now.
Oh, good.
And so he loves to just get amongst it.
All right.
He just everything. So you'll probably like see like a flash of white because both my husband and I are white and I'm quite see-through. So sweet child has my skin. So he'll be just this cute little flash of white with blonde hair and beautiful blue eyes just running around.
So when you play Night Vision,
Mhm.
before you is KB. And
Yes.
I didn't even say this to you. I actually saw you and KB a few weeks ago at Rock the Universe in Orlando.
No way.
In Florida, it was like 22 degrees. I brought my
So
kids. It
cold.
was it was kind of like child abuse to have those kids out there all night. But KB, and I actually said this to him, I said, will you bring the jacket? Because KB has this thing where he spins the jacket and he drops it and the crowd goes nuts, right?
That's
It's going to be
awesome.
like 105 degrees when you guys perform. So can we possibly get your son to bring a jacket out, and while you're performing, he could do a KB, spin it around, drop it, and then the crowd can go nuts, and then he can stage dive.
Do
Can
you
we
know
make
what?
can we make that happen, Taya?
Do you know what? We're struggling to teach him like come and stop. He is fascinated by the road. So we're still working on those like general commands. I don't want to say commands because obviously we all want to be obedient. Um, but we're struggling with that. So I don't know if I'm
Right,
going to be able to say like let the jacket go, like drop it
right.
down, because he'll look at me and he'll think, oh, she's going to chase me. This is going to be epic. Maybe the stage dive. I feel like you do.
So what we're saying is that at Night Vision we could actually see your son running around the stage screaming, "No, leave me alone!" Like that could happen. Get your
I think I think what he'll end up saying, he says his name. We're like, what's your name? And he's like, Buh. And I'm like, great, it's good. So he's probably gonna yell out Buh because also when we say like, what's mama's name? And he's like, Buh. I'm like, close, not really. So he'll probably just be running around. The other thing he says is fire. So he
fire.
says, he
Okay.
says, farmer, which is close, and we'll give that to him. And so he's probably just going to be running around yelling fire and bone.
Okay, so you have about 3 months, 3.5 months before Night Vision.
hmm
You have time to get pyros and get the fire flames shooting up like it's a skillet show for your set. Can you? I mean, right now on air, can we make that happen? Like maybe during Broken Vessels, we'll just you know.
I think nothing says worship than pyro,
Right.
uh shooting up. I will say this, I am a little bit of like a pyro. I love a good candle. I love just like looking. Obviously, my kid, one of the words he says is fire. He's one.
Okay.
So obviously it runs deep. Um, but listen, I can't promise the pyro. What I
Okay.
can promise is that we're going to look to Jesus and we're
Yes.
going to have a lot of fun doing it. I feel like we're going to go 0 to 100 real quick. So we might, dip in. I do believe the Holy Spirit works deeply, but he does so tenderly. And so I feel like we're going to be going on a journey together.
You are so good to bring it back from like whatever craziness I'm talking about. Yeah, let's talk about Jesus, dude. Like, yes, we do. I do have to say, Oceans is one of the songs that you're known for, and you have
Mhm.
other great songs.
You're
My
kind.
my daughter's adopted from Taiwan, and when we brought her home 10 years ago, the only song she would go to sleep to at night was Oceans. We are responsible right
Oh.
now. There's 547 million plays on Spotify. We are good for about 47 million of those. Okay. Cause it was like
Well,
night after night. We aggressively streamed that song for like a year straight.
one, so honored. And I know it's funny, people will be like, are you ever sick of that song? I could never be sick of that song the way that it became a confession that I didn't know that I would need to sing.
All right.
It was a song that um like I was a youth leader. I never went to ministry school. I didn't go to university or college. I was found in the church. I was someone that was a youth leader that was a part of the youth worship team. I was asked to come into the studio to maybe like try out. I didn't realize that's what it was. I thought I was just doing like background vocals. Came and sang a song because they said just sing what that person's singing, which is the melody. So I'm like, this is kind of weird. It's not really a harmony or anything. Then they say, come back the next day, and then we'll give you another song to sing. I only knew one of the people in United, because he'd come to the little campus that I was a part of. I wasn't at the main one. And it was just this crazy story that no one can really take credit for other than God just putting the right people in the right place with the right songs at the right time. And months go by. I didn't know that song was going to make the record. Turns out that song that we recorded that I came back the next day to do was Oceans. I find out like the week before the boys are all going to South Africa that I actually am being offered a job at this church to come on staff, look after the vocals. I have to quit that day because I'm going to Africa the next week with the boys to sing on tour. That's a pretty crazy
Yeah.
story that no one can take credit for, just God and his kindness. And what was crazy, I was standing on platforms that I didn't believe that I had any right to, because I didn't do singing lessons. I didn't do college. I didn't study the Bible in the way that, you know, other people had gone to college for and had been praying for these opportunities. And yet God was like, here you go. And I'm going to give you a confession that says, take me, Lord, where I have nothing else to lean on but you, to not just be, comfortable in the shore, but like you actually need, like, let me be someone like Peter who walks on the water. When you say come, I come.
Right.
And what is so kind is even Peter, when he failed and he started sinking into the water, Jesus didn't say like, oh, I'm going to let you get your head wet for a couple of seconds and then I'm going to pull you out. He did chide him and say, you faithless generation, like, why do you doubt? But he was there and he pulled him out and placed him back in the boat. Like, he's so incredibly kind, and I needed that confession more than probably anyone realized. So if it was being sung with conviction, it's because I needed it and I needed that prayer, and that prayer became a continual. If I talk about Ben as being over my life, one would be the faithfulness of God. I could never deny his faithfulness and everything that he's worked together for my good, because he's just kind and gracious. But it would also be that my life is to be one of trust and surrender. And I have never written like the plan for my life and this is what I should be doing. But God, in his kindness, as I've surrendered, he said, cool, you put no parameters on this. I'm going to do the most mind-blowing things. And so I will, and then I hear these amazing stories, like you said, Maddie, about your daughter being ministered to by a song that just kind of took everyone by surprise. And what's fun about that song is that it didn't have a fancy marketing plan.
All right.
No one really knew it was meant to be on the record. I was the fifth person that sung that song, and that was the one that happened to connect, and they put it on the record. And then look what God's done. I just think sometimes he just loves to remind us that we have no idea what we're doing, but if he chooses to breathe on something, it can become something beautiful because he breathes on it, not because it has anything to do with the silly little humans that are there, but we're just meant to surrender in the meantime. And so I'll always be singing that song probably till the last breath.
What inspired you, or what got you to go to Hillsong, like a pretty young age?
Yeah, so this is going to sound hilarious. Because I didn't go to university, my parents had always thought I was going to be a doctor. I was
Okay.
quite good at school, and so they had held on to that really dearly. So I'll say to all the parents, if your child says, I want to be a doctor at 5, best not to probably hold them to that. She doesn't know what blood is.
Right.
And so they kind of held on to that. And I understand now, being a parent, why they did that, because they wanted me to have a better situation than they did. My parents were cleaners. My dad was also a fireman. So they didn't want me to be in the situation that they found themselves in. They said, you need to get a degree behind you. I just knew that I wanted to sing. I didn't have any formal training. I played classical piano and cello, but there was something that just happened in me personally when I was singing. And I now know that's the presence of God. And there was just this closeness that I felt that was like an instant connection, which, again, what a gift we've been given through music. This is a God idea. So no wonder he would use it to move our hearts. It's the thing that's going on in the heavenlies. It's in the throne room. Like, I think music is one of the greatest tools we've been given from heaven to be able to articulate who God is in a way that's very doesn't feel very confronting, because music just goes into places in our hearts and in our minds that maybe conversations couldn't go. And so I'm so grateful for music. So I told my parents at 21 I needed to get out of the disapproving feeling that I felt every time I saw them, that because I wasn't studying. So I finished high school, uh, had five friends be in a car accident in the final year of my high school. So then one survived. We just had like major grief in that final year. So I didn't go as well as what I thought I would. So I didn't apply to university because I didn't have the grades that I thought I could have. And so then it was just a really hard time. It was also the time, though, in a sweet way, I was learning to be obedient to the voice of the Holy Spirit. And I felt a sense that I was meant to move to Sydney. I was 21 and I just felt I was meant to do it at that point. It made no actual sense. Like, again, I got to give my parents credit because I had $200 in the bank. It's not like I had all these savings and everything else.
Right.
But I said, I just feel like I need to go there. I have no idea why. I'd went to a conference one time. I'd visited this small campus that was a part of Hillsong, but wasn't the main one. It was this little city campus. And I went there and I really sensed the presence of God there. And I thought, if I could be a part of a church like this one day at this campus, imagine that could be really cool. Never thinking I would leave my hometown. I'm from a small country town. Why would I move to Sydney? I thought everybody smoked in Sydney and it was just, kind of the thing. And I was like, I don't really like cigarettes or anything like that. So that's what I was thinking, like, small country mind. And so then I told my parents, I'm going to go to Sydney to be a sign recording artist, having no idea how to make that happen. I had no plans to go talk to a label, but I just moved because I needed to get out. And I'd said that. And what is really sweet and full circle is when I moved, again, I had no plans. So I was just working in retail. I was serving at the local church that I wanted to be a part of. And it was because I was planted in the house of God, like it says in Psalms, those who are planted in the house of God, their lives will flourish. It'll be like a tree planted beside running water. It's going to be beautiful. And that's kind of what happened with me. I started just serving. I started to fall in love with the house of God. I got to be part of a worship team and learning how to disciple young people. Wasn't perfect at it, but I learned so much about it. And it was whilst I was there that my dreams just got realized on the side.
Right.
And I got this incredible opportunity. And what was really sweet was when I finally moved from Australia to America, a couple of weeks before we moved, I signed my first record deal.
Wow.
And that was with CCMG. So I got to call my parents and say, hey, mom and dad, I'm finally a signed recording artist. And so there was a little sweetness in there. And the fun thing is they haven't asked me to study since.
Well, I was going to ask you, like, you're like, hey, look, like I've done Oceans. It's a song that shaped a generation to lead them to Jesus. Like, I'm playing all these cool things. I did a Harvest Crusade with Phil Wickham back in the day. I've done all this, and they're like, yeah, but have you really thought about being a doctor? Like, this music thing might not last forever.
Yeah, that was a really sweet. Again, I see my parents' heart post everything because my parents had their own experiences within a church and they were dealing with their own, I think, church hurt as well and wanting to
Right.
make sure I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. But it's nice later on. I wasn't waiting for it, but there was this sweetness of when my parents kind of sat me down via FaceTime and said, we're really proud of you and we love what you're getting to be a part of. And what was amazing was my dad actually hadn't been in church for 18 years because of that church hurt. But
Right.
I always said, I don't think you can be in the presence of God and not be changed. And he'd always like linked into any little thing that we would do. And so I just had that, like, it just had to be this surrendered trust that, no, God, you're with my dad and you care for my dad and you love my dad more than I do. You see everything. And I know that you're just having your own sweet little love affair with him and it's going to be in your timing. And we're just here to pray. And what was cool, a little testimony, end of last year, my dad walked into a church and has started to be a part of a faith community again and have accountability and friends and people that would push him to Jesus. And he's reading the Bible and it's come alive to him. And it's been an incredible season that we're walking in, even in the midst of, all the weird stuff as well.
Right. That's awesome. Let's go, Pops.
Yeah.
A couple more things. You're going to go on before David Crowder.
Yes. Listen, I have a sweet spot in my heart for Crowder.
I do as well. I wish I could grow his beard. I just can't.
Hey, me too. I'm trying. I'm trying. And all the girls said, yeah, girl. Um, it's a gift that we don't want,
Right.
but it's there. No, I have a sweet place in my heart for Mr. Crowder because I think he's hilarious. I think we all think he's hilarious.
Yes.
I still think sometimes the fox, because we did a couple tours with him, and there's this Arctic fox that sits in the front of his tour bus. And for the longest time, I thought it was like this real dog that was just super stoic. But it's a fox and it's fully stuffed. It's an animal, which I'm sure if you've been to any one of Crowder's shows, you would have seen the animal.
Right.
The fur is amazing. So if you do get a chance to stroke it, totally do it. But no, I will always be grateful for him because I got to be a part of a song that he had written. And it was the first time that I stepped out of doing anything with Hillsong that wasn't Hillsong related, that I got to put my own stamp on. And it was a interesting period for me because I was given that opportunity. And I remember being nervous about it because I'd only ever been a part of something within our own church. And there's safety in that, accountability, and yeah, and I guess again, safety is probably the main word. And it was just very timely that I got to step out and just have a go.
Right.
See if the anointing's on this. Is God, are you in this as well? And I felt he gave a chance for me in that because it's also risky because it's like, oh, who's this girl? Like, can she do this? I don't actually know. And what's cool is we recorded it. We recorded it separately. Mikey Chisler, who's a part of United, he produced that part for me, sent it over, they mixed it, put it on the record. And then we got the incredible honor of getting to sing this live with Crowder at Passion. I was so nervous. The team that he has, the band, were amazing, incredible musos. And I'm just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And I'm like, can you see? And so it was such an electrifying, fun, incredible. It was a different kind of genre. And I mean, it was so much fun. And I will always, again, just be so grateful for Mr. David Crowder.
Lastly, I got two more things for you. You're gonna be doing autographs. You're gonna be doing the meet and greet thing at Nightvision. So, just buy a ticket, come see her, get an autograph. She actually she has really cool merchandise. She actually do have pretty dope merchandise. I like that autograph shirt. I just think it'd be weird. How does your husband feel about guys wearing T-shirts with your picture on it? Is he a little weird about it, or he just likes the money?
I'll say this. I don't think it's really sold very well.
Oh, all right.
But I'll say this. It kind of felt like a fun little Dolly Parton-esque kind of vibe. What's very funny is it's only been my dear close friends that have, I think, bought that shirt mostly. And so it's quite funny to see my sweet friends from Sydney. They're like, I'm like, okay. But it's actually a very funny shirt if there ends up being a roll in it at all, because then my eyes kind of do a weird googly thing. I'll say this. I feel like merch is something that we ventured out in. When you take a step out of faith and you step in to do something new, it's quite crazy how many different areas feel new. And so I feel like that's still an area that we're like, what are we doing? We want to be able to create something that people like, that enjoy, but then there's a tension of you want something to be cool that you would wear, but then you're like, actually, I would never wear my face.
Right.
So I probably should have put my face on a t-shirt.
Well, Grand Junction, you got to bring that shirt to Nightvision because I'll at least buy one because I think it's pretty awesome because I like Taya as a person and as an artist. So I need a shirt
That's kind. Well, question: what size are you, Maddie?
Extra large.
Okay, actually.
Yes, put one. Why do you think I'm like? Oh no, you're definitely a triple X. No, yeah, I'm an extra large.
No, you look.
Taya just called me fat.
You look small. You look small.
I like it to be baggy. I'm trying to be hip.
Do you know what? I get it. I'm a 2XL girl.
So
I'm a 2XL.
Right? Yeah, you definitely don't need that. So okay, grab an XL before you guys have the Nightvision. Put it in the drummer's kick drum head, and I can buy it at the festival. Okay.
I won't make you buy that. I'll give it to you.
That's on record, y'all. All right. Lastly,
I'm writing it down.
What advice
Tea.
Yeah, I want one of those. I was looking at it, I was like, that's pretty
There you
dope,
go.
actually. I like that. What advice would you give to, finally, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to pursue worship ministry or just a career in the Christian music industry?
Yeah. I would say I love that. I believe we need Christians in every genre, in every sphere of influence of life. Um, and I would say with everything that I've gotten to be a part of, um, nothing can replace my relationship with Jesus. That has to be priority number one. It is still the priority number one. It's still the thing that I have to fight for. Because the older you get, the more things vie for your attention. And just prioritizing that time with Jesus because everything flows from that place. You know, it says that we're to guard our hearts because the issues of life flow from that. But if I'm continually placing my life before Jesus and spending time in his presence, um, and then I would be reacting out of that with everything else that, you know, that I'm facing, it's going to be a much better way. He always has the kinder way. He always has the more patient way. And I would say as well, for me personally, and I'm sure it's been the same with a lot of people, we were all found in the house of God. We were all found in church in some way, shape, or form. If you pick any kind of like insane singer, gospel, rap, like whatever it is, I bet everyone was found in the house of God. We were there serving, you know, whatever you feel that God's placed in your hand, do it as unto him with all of your might. And what's really cool, just to take the pressure off, because it's definitely been the case for my own story, is I wasn't, it's so much nicer when someone opens the door for you. When God opens a door for you, it's so much nicer to walk through instead of having to kick it down.
Right.
It's so like God knows where you are. So often we go like, I have all these dreams and desires. What's cool is God knows.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he placed dreams and desires on the inside of us. He's the one that gave us the gifts and the talents that we naturally gravitate towards. And so don't you think that he would be the one that would pick you up and enable you to be able to do the thing that you should be doing? Because he's the one that has the best plan for our lives. And the main thing that we're to do is be surrendered, to love him and learn how to love him well and do the things that, you know, please him, and uh, do the things that we know to do that would draw us nearer to him, spending time in his presence, reading your Bible. The Bible is literal life and food and sustenance to your bones. We either believe that or not, that it's a living, eternal word of God. And he lays it all out for us. And he has amazing promises and encouragement for us. And to be honest, that like learning how to have a passion for reading my Bible, and I think guarding those times, not making it formulaic, because again, God is so kind and I'm not perfect. And we can heap so much judgment on ourselves when we skip a day and we're like, oh gosh, like, you know, he doesn't make us run over coals to get back to that place. He's like, I'm here, I'm waiting, just come to me. And what's cool about all of that is God sees you. He knows where you are. You don't, we may feel like we're hidden, and those seasons are actually good for our character. I think Christine Kane says like those moments of being hidden are amazing, because if it's a God-given thing, it's because if we were to be exposed in the light of, you know, in the wrong timing, it would kill us. And so like be pumped if you have these dreams and these desires that you feel like are unrealized. Just, God, I know that you know me. I know that you have a wonderful plan for my life. I trust your plan more than my plan. I surrender my dreams and my desires to you. I know that you created me, and so you've given me these gifts and these talents. I want to steward them well. And like I said before, those who are planted in the house of God, they will flourish. It's so nice that, of course, you know, Jesus is going to be all about his bride, the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so it shouldn't be such a surprise that we were all found in the house of God, you know, and that's where God, you know, said, you know what, you've been faithful with this small thing. I'm now going to give you something else to be faithful with. And to be honest, this is probably going to be like a kind of thing, but the people that I aspire to be like are the people who are still in the house of God.
Right.
There's a lot of people that were found in the house of God, and there's a lot of people that have decided to step out of the house of God. I think there's a sweet way that we can find out how to do this. And I'm trying to learn how to do that myself, how to serve in my local church context.
Right.
Something that was really beautiful with a whole bunch of the Hillsong crew is when we weren't touring around the world for a weekend or whatever else, we were back in the house of God. I was still at the city campus for all those years, at services on the weekend and serving and putting my hand to the plow. And I think there's something humbling and beautiful about that because you realize there's no real Christian celebrity. Firstly, like let's
Right.
just kill that. Like we're famous for making Jesus famous. Like you know, and so there's something beautiful and something that um, I think it helps keep your heart soft
Right.
and that you realize you're not actually the main thing here. And this is good for my soul. And it's good, like it says in the New Testament, don't forsake the gathering together of the saints and the breaking of bread and coming around communion and opening up the word of God. Again, yeah, the older I get, the more I'm like, oh gosh, that's what you meant. I made it so complicated.
No. All right, Taya, Saturday night, Night Vision. She's going to bring, I mean, she's bringing the Holy Spirit because listen to this interview. This woman, she's bringing it. Let's go. But maybe a head wound, maybe pyros, definitely a child on stage, and the signature shirt, the autograph shirt. Taya,
Yes,
we
I
will
got you.
see you in 105 degrees in Grand Junction. Thank you for your time.
You're too good, Maddie. Thanks for having me. See you guys soon.